Hello, my little mathematicians. Today, we're going to learn about box plots, or sometimes you might see it referred to as box and whisker plots. Okay, this is just one way to represent our data in a data set, and it kind of breaks it into 25% chunks, and I'll show you that in a minute. So first off, let's see the key 5 numbers that we need in order to make this box plot or box and whisker plot. And then also, like, one thing they're going to talk about is the interquartile range, okay, which you might see referred to as the IQR. And if you're ever asked to find the IQR, that's where you find the difference between both the first and third quartile. And you're like, what's the first and third quartile? Let me show you. Okay. First off, the box and whisker plot right here. Okay, the 5 numbers that you need are the minimum. Okay, the minimum is the smallest number in your data set. So you just look at it all listed, and then you look at the smallest number. And then here on the actual box and whisker plot, that's your first dot right there. That would be your minimum. Okay, the next number that you would do would be to find the median. Okay, to find the median, that's where, you put all the numbers in order from least to greatest, and you cross off till you find that middle number. Okay, that's the median, or you can think of it as the midpoint. In your graph, that's right here. This dot, which you draw a line through, that's your median. Once you find your median, that literally like splits your data in half, right? So you like cut it in half, and you have half the numbers here and you have half the numbers here. Once you have it split in half, then you look at the lower half and you find the median of that lower half, which is called the first quartile. Okay, so let's go ahead and write that down, that you have the first quartile. Okay, that again is the median of the bottom half, and then you would draw a dot there on your graph. So that's the first quartile right there. Or we can say, Q1. Then you look at the upper half of data and you cross off till you find the middle of the upper half of data. And that's referred to as the third quartile. Okay, or I guess let's call it Q3. Okay, and so then you would draw a dot at that point. And then the last one, that's the easiest thing. You just look at your data set, and what's the biggest number there? That would be the maximum. Okay, and you draw a dot there. So when I go to draw my box and whiskers, I first look at the minimum and maximum and I draw a dot. Then I cross off till I find the middle median value. Then I look at the lower half of data and I cross off to find the first quartile. Then I look at the upper half of data and I cross off till I find the third quartile. And those are the 5 things that we need to know in order to find or create a box and whisker plot, or just a box plot. And it's called a box and whisker plot because you have a box and 2 whiskers coming out from the side. And what it does is, it's really nice, is it kind of shows you the spread of the data. Since this cuts it in half, and then you find the median of the bottom half, well, half of the data is 50%, and what's half of 50%? 25%, right? And then you do the same thing up here. If half of the data, you cut it in half, so you have another 25%. So each little chunk is 25%. From here to here is 25% of the data. From here to here is 25%. From here to here is 25%. And from here to here is 25%. And so if you look at the box, that's the middle 50% of data. And then this is like the upper 25%, and here's the lower 25%. And if you kind of think of it as like test scores, that's why usually the bottom half is like really spread out, because usually there's like one kid that was like maybe absent, and like they were absent a whole bunch, and so they only got like one question right. And so they like threw it off like it's really spread out. Most of the people did well. And then the majority did pretty close together. And then you have the few outliers, like those kids that just get 100% on everything or do a lot better than everyone else. There's not that many. That's why the top 25% of data is really close together. Now, that's not always true. I'm just generalizing with that. Okay. Now let's see how we would actually use this data to find the answers of stuff. Well, if they ever ask for the IQR, or interquartile range, you would take the third quartile, so whatever that number is, and subtract the first quartile. And then that's like the range of the middle 50% of the data. Okay, so from here, your first step, whenever you're finding the median, is to put them in order from least to greatest. So I see 34 first, and if that pen doesn't work. And then I see that there is the next biggest number is 45. My next biggest one is 47, and then 48 with another 48, a 49, and a 50. Okay, once I have them all listed from least to greatest, I want to go ahead and cross off till I find that middle value. So beginning, end, beginning, end, beginning, end. There's my middle number of 48. Okay, now that middle number is not included in part of the lower or the upper half, like it's alone. So I'm going to look at this bottom half, and I'm going to try to find the lower quartile there. So beginning, end, there you go. There's the middle. The first quartile is 45. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a dot at 45 for the first quartile. I'm going to draw a dot at 48 for the median, for 6, for 7, 48. And you know what, since I'm on it, why not draw a dot for the minimum value of 34, which would be right here, and the maximum value, which is 50. And now all that's left for me to find is that third quartile, the median of the upper half. So here's the upper half, beginning, end. There's your middle. It's 49. So I'm going to draw a dot at 49. Okay, now that you have your 5 key dots, what you do is I draw my whiskers first. So I connect these two and I connect those two. So I connect the beginning and end points. And then I draw a box around that middle point that's left, and I draw a line down through that middle point. And now that's your median. Here's your middle 50%. There's your min and max. And that's how you draw a box and whisker plot. Okay, let's go ahead and try to do this one. So again, first step, put them in order from least to greatest. Okay, the smallest one is 7. Then you have an 8. Then you have 2 9s. Then I see a 10. And I see 2 11s and a 12 and a 14, 2 15s, a 16, and finally that 19. If I were you, I'd always double check and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 numbers in your data set. Did you write them all down? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 numbers. Okay, because if you don't write them all down, then you're obviously not going to get the correct median. So first off, my minimum is 7. So let's draw a dot at 7. And my maximum is 19. So let's draw a dot at 19. Okay, then I'm going to find my median. So beginning, end. I know that sounds lame, but like it really helps me keep track. So beginning, end, beginning, end, beginning, and end, beginning, and end, beginning, and end. Okay, so the 11 is in the middle. So let's draw a dot at the 11. And then for the lower half, beginning, end, beginning, end. It's between those 9 and 9s. Well, is there anything between 9? No. Or if you didn't see that, find the average of those two numbers. Add them together and divide by how many there are. There's 2 numbers. So 9 plus 9 is 18. And 18 divided by 2 is 9. And you're like, oh yeah, it should just be 9. Here for the upper half, okay, remember the 11 isn't part of the upper half. It's just these guys. So beginning, end, beginning, end. And then beginning, end, like it's between here. Well, it's between 15 and 15. There's nothing between those. It's just 15. So let's draw a dot at 15 and at 9. Okay, now that I have all of my 5 dots drawn, connect your 2 whiskers at the end, and then draw a box around that median and draw a line down at the median. And there you go. There is your box and whisker plot. Sorry, I probably should have done that in a different place because it looks really messy. Okay. Remember, you should always like pause the video, try it yourself first, and then unpause it and come back and join and see if you got them right. And you're writing this down in your notes as well. Okay, this one says use the given box plot to determine the five number summary. So we said that the minimum is the smallest. So that's right here, which is right at the 11. And the maximum is the biggest, which I'd say probably like 18. Okay, the median is that middle value of the box. So that's right here at 14. Okay, that's your median. And then the first quartile, that's the beginning of your box. So that's Q1, which I'd say is like 12 probably. Okay, and then the, hello, 18 is the maximum. Your third quartile is the top of the box, which is this guy right here. Okay, and that's like right before the 17, so I'd say about 16 for my quartile 3. Okay, and then that's it. Okay, we identified all those points. Let's answer some questions if they provide me a box and whisker plot. Well, remember that we said like this is the first quartile and that's the third quartile, right? So that means like from here to here is your first quartile, this is your second quartile, this is your third, and that's your fourth. And if it helps, maybe let's like actually write that up here. Okay, so from here to here, I'd say first quartile, here's your second quartile, here's your third quartile, and here's your fourth quartile. Okay, it says determine the range of the number of colleagues. Well, my maximum value, that's right here, trace that down. It says it hits at 9. And then my smallest value right here, trace that down, hits at 0. Well, 9 minus 0 is 9, because again, we were asked to find the range. The median, that's easy when they provide me this, the median is the center of the box, so it hits at 6. So there was 6, what are we talking about? College applications. So they applied to 6 colleges. The interquartile range, okay, or they could ask the IQR. Do you remember what we said we would do for that? Yeah, you're going to take the third quartile, the top of the box, minus the first quartile, the bottom of the box. Well, that top of the box is 8, and the bottom of the box is 4. So 4 colleges. Which quartile represents the greatest spread? What would you say? Yeah, the first quartile, because you see how it's spread out the most? Okay, so the longest of the 4 sections in that particular box plot was the first quartile right here. So that's why it represents the greatest spread. It's more spread out than all the rest. If it's a short span, that means the numbers are really closely grouped together. Describe why quartile 1 is larger than quartile 4, because these numbers are more spread out and these are more closely grouped together. What do you observe about quartile 2 and quartile 3? Well, you tell me. What do you think? Yeah, quartiles 2 and 3 are equal in size, so that means that their data points are probably equally distributed to each other. Okay, so they're pretty equally spread out versus these are more spread out and these are closely grouped together. Okay, if you need to, you can always pause the video to get that stuff down. But let's go ahead and move on to the bottom section. Okay, the bottom section says the average monthly rainfall during the summer months and winter months are shown below. So again, always try and see if you can pause it, answer it yourself, and then unpause it and come back. What did you put for the range in rainfall in the winter months was 12 inches? Is that true? Well, the winter months, okay, so winter is here. The range would be the top, which is 15, minus the bottom or minimum, which is 3, and that's 12. And they said, was the range 12? Yes, that's true. Okay, the median of the summer. So I'm focusing on the summer, and the median of it hits right here it was 11. And it says it was 13. So is that true? No, it's false. Okay, it was actually, for summer, it hit right here at 11 for the median. Okay, this next one is a little bit tricky. What does it say? For half of the months in the summer, the rainfall was greater than 11. So I'm looking at summer. Greater than 11, so 11 is here, and greater is this way. Half of the months. Well, that actually makes sense because here's 25% of the data and here's 25% of the data. So 50% of the data is 11 or more. So yeah, that's true. Okay, the last one says for half of the months in winter, so focusing on winter, and half of the months, the rain was less than 10. So here it hits at 10, and 10 or less is this way. Well, here's 25% of the data, and here's 25% of the data. So 50% of the data for winter was 10 or less. That was true as well. All right. Hopefully, you guys are now masters at both creating and interpreting box and whisker plots or box plots. You got this, my little mathematicians. You're going to do great.